What is going on, people? Come one, come all. We got a Giants practice report on a Saturday. We have a Jaxson Dart practice report for you today because that's what I decided to do. Watch your ads. Hope everybody's doing well. Like the stream. If you're in here early, if you're hanging out with us early, and if you're already in the stream, like the stream because today is August 2nd, 2025. It's Talking Giants brought to you by SeatGeek, and it is the Jaxson Dart report day. I figured it's a Saturday. I did this. The Giants had a practice a couple weekends ago. It actually turned out to be one of the most viewed streams because it was a really good practice for all of the rookies. So I chose to do the Jaxson Dart report on a day where Jaxson Dart did not have a very good practice. And I kind of like that because we're going to talk about how he kind of responded to adversity. I'm going to talk about a lot about who he kind of talked to and when he talked to people and kind of his mannerisms, not just, okay, how did Jaxson Dart perform? But how was Jaxson Dart like kind of just as a football player in mannerisms and things like that. So we're going to talk all about that. Hope everybody's doing all right. Like the stream, comment on the stream. Appreciate everybody. We basically have only one more practice on Monday. There's an off day tomorrow on Sunday. One more practice on Monday, and then that's kind of it. There's the joint practices against the Jets that will be happening in the following week, but that's basically it in terms of consistent everyday practice reports and practice live streams. So appreciate everybody hanging out. Before I get to talking about Jaxson Dart from top to bottom, the Giants have an off day tomorrow, like I just said. I am a little discouraged walking away from all of these practices and feeling like the Giants have run an intense training camp. Today, now I could be just killing a good vibe because today's practice at the end, it was fun, and Jameis Winston was throwing the ball towards the goalpost, and if you hit the goalpost, then Jameis got them out of walkthroughs later. If Jaxson Dart hit the goalpost on they were standing at like the 20, the 25-yard line, 30-yard line, they were throwing the ball at the goalpost, and if Jaxson Dart hit the goalpost, then they would have all been able to go home early and had no meetings later. So at least they got out of walkthroughs, but each quarterback had an attempt to throw the ball at the goalpost. Jameis hit his on the first try, so they got out of the walkthroughs early, but they didn't get out of anything else. So it definitely today seemed to be intentionally a way relaxed, calm day. They really didn't do a lot of team period. After they did like 2 team periods-ish, I want to say, they do special teams, and then they ended practice with like a 25-minute walkthrough period. Hence why I guess coaches gave them the opportunity and the quarterbacks the opportunity of, all right, well, you guys get to get out of it later. So they did a 25-minute walkthrough period to end practice today. And it's really discouraging, at least me sitting there being like, damn, man, you're in full pads. You got off tomorrow. Let's do a little bit more. I am not walking away from attending these open practices for the New York Giants, being like, Brian Daboll has run a different training camp this year. I know that's been somewhat of an expectation. I know that's been somewhat of an ask, is that the Giants need to run things a little bit more with a higher intensity this year. I am not walking away with 100%. I am not walking away with thinking that they're running a way more intense training camp or practice or anything like that. So let's get to Jaxson Dart. The Jaxson Dart report. And we'll talk about other things that happened throughout practice too, like Wandale had an insane catch. Marcus Bowe got first team left tackle reps for the first time today. That'll all be kind of worked in here. But 9:45 a.m., Jaxson Dart runs on the field, immediately talks and catches up with Tommy DeVito. Tommy DeVito ran out of the locker room a little bit ahead of Jaxson Dart, and Jaxson Dart catches up to Tommy DeVito, and they run out together. Now, if I had a power rank the players that Jaxson Dart speaks with and talks to during a Giants practice, Tommy DeVito's number 1, Jameis Winston's number 2. Jaxson Dart and Russell Wilson really didn't converse all that much. They really didn't. But him and Tommy, they are legit close. There was even at one point after Dart has a conversation with Daboll, which we'll talk about. Dart has a conversation with Brian Daboll about an hour later. And then Dart goes up to Tommy and they give one of these side headbutts together. Like boom. You're not doing that with everybody. So him and Tommy are like legit close. And I know there's a lot of conversation right now happening about, is Tommy DeVito's time really running out? Because Tommy DeVito, believe it or not, I feel like he's actually gotten more team reps and more practice reps as almost training camp has gone on, or is it the same? And in my head, it's just a lot, because Tommy DeVito is just not very good, man. He's not good. I get why he's valuable in the spring. I get why he was valuable at the early part of the summer, because he was the guy that's been in the offense for 3 years, and he knows the language. He knows the system. He's a huge help for Jaxson Dart. I think he can also be a huge help for Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson as well. Like I said, especially in the early install periods of the summer. But there is a conversation of, man, just what is Tommy DeVito really doing here? And if they were to just go along with practices not giving Tommy DeVito reps, okay, then Tommy DeVito's not harming anybody. But they're giving Tommy DeVito reps that Jameis Winston and Jaxson Dart can be getting, and it's just getting to a point of like, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? Does that Band-Aid need to be ripped off at some point? So they are super close, though. As I'm saying this about Tommy DeVito, and maybe that, maybe there will get to a certain point in camp where they feel like they don't fully need him. Maybe they carry him for the first game. Because if you think about this, the first game of preseason, I don't think Russ is going to play at all. You would think Jameis maybe gets a couple drives. So then is Jaxson Dart just going to play the rest of the game? I think Jaxson Dart would get a quarter or two. And if it almost feels like Tommy DeVito is going to play the whole second half of the first preseason game. That's what it feels like to me. Even if Jaxson Dart gets like a quarter, and that's good enough. Tommy DeVito will need to play the whole second half of the game. And then maybe the second preseason game against the Jets is where you see more of the starters. And then the third preseason game is where you can be more comfortable playing Jaxson Dart for a longer period of time, since that's the last time that you're going to see him. So maybe do they make a decision after the Bills game to cut Tommy DeVito? I don't know. But it's getting to a point where it's taking away valuable reps from guys, and the reps that Tommy DeVito are bringing are not very good. So it's a shame. But him and Dart, very, very close. Again, power rankings of who are the players that Jaxson Dart is talking to the most? Tommy DeVito is like number one. As he's warming up with suspension bans. Him and Laura Young have a chat as he warms up. That's really the only time I see Laura Young and Jaxson Dart charting. If you're wondering who Laura Young is, she's in her 4th season with the Giants. She was hired with Brian Daboll as the team's director of coaching operations. She's everywhere. She always walks around the perimeter of the practice field before practice. She used to do that with Jerome Henderson. I think she's doing it with one of the secondary coaches now. I probably should know who that coach is, but she used to always walk around with Jerome Henderson before practice. I would yell out her name. She would appreciate it, because nobody is yelling out Laura Young's name. But so he has a chat with Laura Young before practice starts. And something that's interesting, as they go from warming up separately, the first part of practice is always a team walkthrough. It's an 11-on-11 walkthrough, always. There's no live action that's happening. They don't even stretch yet. But the first part of practice always is a live 11-on-11 walkthrough. And what they did with Dart and Jameis today is, for the first time since, I think, early on in camp, Dart is cycled into play calling for the first team offense. So it's Russell Wilson that's kind of operating that live 11-on-11 period, and it's usually only with the first team. The first team is the only team that operates in that 11-on-11 walkthrough period before they actually warm up. That's how they start practice. So Russ does a couple plays, and then this is unexpected. This is not something that was full on expected, because Russ gets back to the huddle after calling a couple plays and running a couple plays. Russ gets back into the huddle, and then I see Dart is called in. Russ goes out. Dart runs in, and that is a situation where Dart has to give that play call, go up to the line, execute it, and run it. Now, they're not going live. They're just simulating a walkthrough, but I like this is the first time that Dart has actually been thrown in with the first team and even asked to get into that huddle and call a play in front of those guys since early on in camp, and I think he even did that in the spring. I know Russell Wilson needs reps, and reps are so valuable, especially when you're not practicing a lot, and the Giants certainly, it feels like they're not doing a ton of team over the last couple days. But I still would like to see Jaxson Dart challenged every once in a while. I would like to see Jaxson Dart challenged every once in a while of okay, are we back? Are we here? My stream kind of lagged for a couple seconds. Hopefully we didn't lag. But I would like to see Jaxson Dart thrown in there more with the first team. So it was him. Jaxson Dart gets called into that situation. He calls some plays for the first team. Then they go no huddle and they simulate a hurry up situation, a couple plays. And then Dart comes out and Jameis Winston for the first time all of camp. Definitely. I don't know about the spring. I wasn't in the spring. I wasn't at the spring, but first time all of camp, Jameis Winston gets in the first team huddle and he calls some plays too during just that walkthrough period. Now, when you see, and this is all of camp too, there's 4 quarterbacks on the team. Typically when individuals are happening or there's a, skill position and quarterbacks, there's QB1, QB2, they're throwing to wide receivers that are a part of the first team. They're throwing to wide receivers that are part of the second team. And then there's QB3, QB4 on an opposite side of the field, and they're doing individuals or, 1v1s or whatever the case may be with the third string wide receivers and the fourth string wide receivers, right? And tight ends are maybe even included that too. Running backs included in that too. They've been treating Jaxson Dart like he's quarterback too. They really have all through camp. And that's not just a today thing that's unique. Jameis Winston, I think, on the first unofficial depth chart will be listed as quarterback too, and I'm confident, and I'm pretty confident in that. But Jaxson Dart has been getting the majority of the second team reps with team, and whenever Russell Wilson and another quarterback are throwing side by side next to each other during individual periods, it is Jaxson Dart is the one that's throwing next to him. They are treating Jaxson Dart like he is quarterback too. I'm going to get some beat reporters on next week. I figured, hey, starting next week is going to be where I'm not going to be able to attend some practices. So I'm going to start to get some beat reporters back on the show. And that's going to be one of the things that I ask them is it feels like Jaxson Dart is QB2. They may not say Jaxson Dart is QB2. That may not even be the reality of, let's say Russell Wilson goes down hypothetically in a week 2 against Dallas. Jameis is probably the first quarterback that's off the bench, but Jaxson Dart is getting the majority of the second team reps with the team. So I find that to be just noteworthy as the summer goes on and as the summer evolves and as we're watching Jaxson Dart evolve as well as a player. In terms of who Jaxson Dart is talking to throughout practice outside of Tommy DeVito, Shea Tierney, quarterback coach, and Mike Kafka, offensive coordinator, are his 2 lifelines. Basically, everywhere they are, Jaxson Dart is, especially Shea Tierney being the quarterback coach and no shit Sherlock, right? But I found it to be really, really noteworthy that Jaxson Dart and Shea Tierney, almost every single play are during team periods, they're having communication with each other. They are talking. Jaxson Dart is constantly looking down at the play sheet that's on his wrist and all the play calls that are on his wrist, and he's talking it through with Shea Tierney. There are some times where he would talk it through with Jameis. Whenever Jameis or DeVito was out on the field, I really didn't see Dart really talk with Russell Wilson a whole lot, at least on the practice field. Who knows what they're obviously talking a lot, probably in the meetings. But Shea Tierney and Jaxson Dart seem like there's really good communication with each other. Seems like there's even a good relationship there where there is a point in practice where Shea Tierney, DeVito has a ball, Dart has a ball in his hands, and Shea Tierney's trying to go after the ball, and they're laughing at each other. They're horse rattling. They're horse playing with each other. So that was I liked seeing their relationship. And Mike Kafka, I'll tell you what, and this kind of brings me into Brian Daboll as well. Like where is Brian Daboll this summer? Now that we know that Mike Kafka is the play caller for the offense. Now we know that Brian Daboll is not calling plays this year, at least right now. Now that we know that that's not happening, where is Brian Daboll in all of this? I have typically found that Brian Daboll, during the first half of practices and the first half of where the individual drills are happening, And then when they're in full pads, they'll also line up with a O-line, D-line in 1v1s. I found that Brian Dable spends a lot of time with the defense first half of practice. And when O-line and D-line have 1v1s when they're in full pads, Brian Dable will watch almost every single rep of that period. And then as the second half of practice comes on and like all of the offenses together, let's just say all the offense, O-line, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, they're doing an entire offensive walkthrough period. That is when Brian Dable, towards the second half of individual-ish, I'll call it, during the second half of non-team periods, will come over to the offense. Brian Dable, pretty passive role of when the offense is out there operating, whether it be during team or through walkthrough, pretty passive role of he's being a head coach, I should even say. Mike Kafka is directing what's happening 100%. I was pretty, like, now that I was locked into it today, pretty, I don't know if surprised is the word, but it was interesting to note just how much influence and how much, I'm trying to think of the word that I want to use here, how much Mike Kafka directed, almost like a director, directed the offensive practice as obviously the offense coordinator. Mike Kafka is the assistant head coach. So to see that he has this role, not all that surprising, but it was definitely noteworthy to see, like, man, this is Kafka's show on offense as practice is happening and as practice is going on. So during those individual periods, Mike Kafka is with the quarterbacks, Shea Tierney with the quarterbacks, and Dart is having constant communication with them. During those team periods, Mike Kafka is kind of directing that show, obviously being the offensive play caller. Dart's not really talking to him while he's calling plays, and that's where Shea Tierney really comes in. So Jaxson Dart didn't really have the best of days. And I saw this after even the first team period where Dart didn't look so good. There was even one play where Dane Belton tripped over Amir Smith-Marset, and it was a nice throw by Jaxson Dart over the middle of the field. Dane Belton versus Amir Smith-Marset. Dane Belton winds up tripping over the feet of Amir Smith-Marset, and Jaxson Dart was looking for a flag. He's like, damn, man, that's an easy completion, and my guy gets tripped up. Are we going to get a flag there? It seemed to be incidental contact, so Dart was looking for a flag there. There were some screens that weren't working. So immediate feedback Shea Tierney gives Jaxson Dart as he's walking off the field. And conversation and almost encouragement. Ended the period with the loud slap on the ass that I heard from my seats. He seemed to be frustrated, Dart did, by not being able to be as efficient as he wanted. And I would say since the first week and through the first 2 to 3 days of training camp, this was Jaxson Dart's worst day that he had. So he seemed to be a little frustrated by that. But Shea Tierney definitely gave him that encouragement that he's all right and he's doing good. So at 10:48, this is where I see the first interaction with Brian Dable and Jaxson Dart. Happens at 10:48. They have a brief convo. I already talked about where Brian Dable kind of spends his time as practice goes on. So I want to talk about one thing before I do that, because I want to actually talk about something that's not related to Jaxson Dart. It was a nice Daniel Bellinger play that actually connects back to 2022. But before I do that, I got to talk to you about DraftKings. Today's Jaxson Dart report is sponsored by DraftKings. Football fans, the season is around the corner. And for every team and every fan base, there is renewed hope because everyone starts with a 0 in the loss column, and there's no better time to jump in with our partners at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers, if you bet just $5, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers use our promo code JM Football, all one word. Bet $5 on any wager, get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code JM Football only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Thanks, DraftKings. Appreciate you, DraftKings. So take a break from the Jaxson Dart report for a second. Hope you're enjoying this. Like the stream. I want to talk about a play that happened with the first team today. And this, speaking of Mike Kafka, this was also a Mike Kafka connection. It feels like a Mike Kafka play. Remember 2022 against the Vikings and also the Colts, where Daniel Bellinger started lining up as fullback, and then they would throw out of that look where you have your conventional running back in the backfield, Daniel Bellinger as fullback, and then you have another tight end on the field. They would throw out of that, and then Daniel Bellinger would just sneak right out of the backfield, almost take like a little bit of a wheel route up the left sideline, and that resulted in some productive plays against the Vikings and the Colts. And I remember getting really excited about that play call. It's like, fuck yeah, like we love throwing the ball in condensed formations, and you catch a defense sleeping by throwing the ball to a fullback that's coming out of the backfield, but Daniel Bellinger can catch the ball, right? So they did it again today, and I was really happy about it. They completed it, and it would have been an explosive play for Daniel Bellinger and the Giants offense. So Daniel Bellinger has been rotating in and out a good amount with the ones, and if I had to guess right now, the Giants are going to carry 4 tight ends. So throughout camp, through the first 2 weeks of camp, that's where I think they're going to go. I'm fine with that. Daniel Bellinger is a solid player, and him coming out of the backfield, good sign. Haven't seen that basically since 2022 with Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka did it again today, and I think that will continue to work. I love throwing the ball to condensed formations. You can play action out of that. Daniel Bellinger can certainly catch a defense sleeping when he's lining up as fullback because he's a tight end. All right, so that was a play call that I really liked today. Jaxson Dart, going back to Jaxson Dart. Saw that there was one play where he was under center. He continually is trying to get defenses to jump on hard counts. That's really encouraging because it was the jokes that everybody made in college, and he didn't have a snap count. He just did the clapping thing. And even Dable made a comment during a presser being like, yeah, it's not really that hard to learn. It's just a cadence, but it's cool to see that Jaxson Dart is trying to experiment and get any advantage that you can with getting defenses to jump offside, which leads me to this. I think the Brian Dable and the Giants instituted a new policy today. If you've been watching these training camp recaps, you've been hearing me talk about how frustrated I am with the pre-snap penalties. They had 6 of them a couple days ago when Tom Coughlin was there. That's embarrassing. They have now instituted a new policy where if you jump off sides or if you have a false start penalty, you leave for the whole period and you are not welcome back in. James Hudson, the first play of team period today. False start. Bangs himself on the head, runs off the field because he knows. And a lot of people probably looked at that as, oh, did he take himself out? I don't think he took himself out because you had Jermaine Terry and you had Timon Fox that also had pre-snap penalties on both sides of the ball. And then they took themselves out. And then new guys came in for them. So James Hudson, false start, first play of team period. Who comes in at left tackle? Marcus Bowe. Marcus Bowe comes in at left tackle. So I kind of left from watching Jaxson Dart because I'm like, oh, this is significant. It's Marcus Bowe's one of his first team reps and his snaps that he takes, but also it's his first snaps at left tackle. Dude, he looks pretty solid, man. There were 3 conventional pass set plays, 2 of them where he went up against Kayvon, 1 of them where he went up against Abdul Carter, and the play that he went up against Abdul Carter almost looked like a quick set, one of those jump sets. He gets out of his stance fast. I've been pretty bullish about Marcus Bowe so far this training camp. I think there's still going to be questions on how he deals with strength. There's still going to be questions on how he deals with bull rushes and maybe guys that are getting a little bit heavier, like 250, 260 pounds. And if guys are just going to bull rush you, but if guys are going to try and use speed on him, it may not work. Guys that aren't named Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter's gotten the best of him at times, but I expected Marcus Bowe to really be a work in progress this summer in this camp. As you just watch his tape, and I compared it to almost like a newborn deer running around. Like when deers are born, like they can walk, but they don't exactly know how to walk. That's almost what I felt like I was watching Marcus Bowe at Purdue. And he's been comfortable. He's been fast. He's been pretty balanced so far this training camp. He has not been an unbalanced football player, which that was the main thing that I worried about for him. And I think his future is at tackle, unless he adds beef. And I think he adds weight where he can maybe be a guard. Maybe he adds a little bit of weight and maybe he can be a center. But if you're that athletic and if your feet are that damn good, why are you don't waste it and be an interior guy? Like be a tackle. You'll get more money if you're out of tackle. And I think you could just be more valuable to a football team. And how sick would it be? Like I know Jermaine Illuminar, there'll be a question on whether you extend him or whether you bring him back. But how sick would it be if You get your future right tackle in the 5th round. That would be fucking sick, man. That would really, really be sick. You can always kick Jermaine to the inside if the Giants need guard help. If we want to bring back Jermaine Illuminor, maybe if he's such a pro's pro, maybe he can go to the inside. I don't know. I'm kind of just thinking out loud here, but I really do. I have really enjoyed Marcus Bo's summer so far. He looked decent at left tackle. There was even a screen where he got out in space and moved well. He has not looked out of place and out of touch. And I do think Marcus Bo, like if you're talking about who should be the tackle that comes off the bench first, him or James Hudson, I think Marcus Bo is approaching that territory of, maybe the Giants should think about going to him in the case of one of their tackles getting hurt. I still think James Hudson should be, if you're going to need a left tackle in a pinch, James Hudson has just played left tackle in the NFL before. James Hudson is not good. Somebody needs to punch James Hudson in the face out of principle on the defense because he just constantly talks shit, but he's not good. He constantly just talks and talks and talks and runs his mouth, but he's not good. Out of principle, somebody needs to punch him in the mouth on that defensive side of the ball. Like, why are you taking this shit? I think on the left side, if somebody goes down, if Thomas goes down in a pinch, I think you put Hudson there. But on the right side, or even in the case where Thomas goes down, Illuminor slides over to the left side. I'm starting to feel maybe not so bad about putting Marcus Bo at right tackle. You paid James Hudson a lot of money to be the swing tackle. Basically the same contract that you gave James Hudson, you gave Jermaine Illuminor. But I don't know, man. Bo has just looked that good during camp. So I'm really excited about him. Back to talking about Jaxson Dart. Talked about how he's really trying for that hard count when he's under center. He's taken some really good snaps under center too. I really haven't seen a lot of issues when it comes to Jaxson Dart taking snaps under center, and he didn't really do that at Ole Miss, which is a good sign. The most significant Jaxson Dart moment during today's practice. He sees an opportunity pre-snap this is team drill, 11 on 11. Sees an opportunity pre-snap. Amir Smith-Marset is being covered by Deontay Johnson. That is a mismatch. 1,000% that's a mismatch. Jaxson Dart drops back. Puts a lot of air under a football for Amir Smith-Marset, who's running towards he's running a goal ball in the middle of the field from the slot. You see Deontay Johnson's trailing him in coverage. And the ball falls incomplete. It didn't look like Amir Smith-Marset turned his head to find the football. It didn't look like it. But Dart was also trying to lead him towards the middle of the field. So after the play, watching Dart, and Dart's frustrated, man. He's walking off the field. And, there's a good distance between him and Amir Smith-Marset. But Dart is walking off the football field, and I'm going to take off my glasses for this. He is putting his palm, and he's like pointing, and he's putting his hand towards his face mask. And to me, that motion, and he's yelling, like there is emotion, there are words being said by Jaxson Dart looking at Amir Smith-Marset as they're both coming off the field. And this could be taken as two ways. One, I think it's, hey, man, turn your fucking head. Like Dart's getting emotional. Like, hey, you got to turn your head. You got to find that football in the air because I'm trying to lead you to a place. You have a linebacker that's behind you. This is a mismatch. You got to know that this ball's coming your way. You're not just a clear out, buddy. I'm going to throw you that football. Or Jaxson Dart is trying to, I don't know if he was trying to say, I'm trying to lead you towards the middle of the field. Not totally sure, but Dart yelling at Amir Smith-Marset because that's a touchdown. That's a touchdown. And it was overthrown a little bit, but maybe if Amir Smith-Marset is able to locate that ball in the air, then it's a touchdown. And it's the best play of Jaxson Dart's day. And instead of we're talking about a sloppy day for Jaxson Dart, we're saying, well, it wasn't a great day, but he had that big touchdown to Amir Smith-Marset, and that maybe saves his day. So Dart showing intensity. He didn't just run off the field as a rookie and be like, oh, shucks, man, that was just an incompletion. He's yelling at Amir Smith-Marset. So that's the intensity. That's the fire that we've talked about and that we've heard that Jaxson Dart will bring. Heard that Jaxson Dart would do that at Ole Miss on the bench, that he would be quite emotional and he would be kind of pissed off when shit like that happens. I like that. I like that in certain doses. I like that in certain doses. You don't want to throw guys under the bus, but setting an expectation and being a little mad and a little frustrated that a big play doesn't work out, I don't mind that. So that was the most significant Jaxson Dart moment during practice today. Yelling at Amir Smith-Marset, and he's going like this, like, turn your head, locate the ball in the air. That could have been a touchdown. So during that same drive, there's also a Jordan Bly touchdown / no touchdown. Jaxson Dart's rolling to his left. This is a conventional drive down the field. It's not a red zone period. It's not just doing second, third down. Conventional drive down the field. Jaxson Dart methodically kind of moving down the field, rolls out to his left, scrambles out, throws on the run to Jordan Bly. Official on the field calls it a touchdown, and the Giants often celebrate like it's a touchdown. If you look at the replay that a lot of people have posted, it does look like the ball kind of skips the ground, and it was not a touchdown, but still, Jaxson Dart throws that touchdown / no touchdown, runs down to the end zone, celebrates with his teammates. Basically everybody goes down after scoring that touchdown. And then a lot of people dap up Jaxson Dart, give him pats on the ass as he's coming off the field. Dude seems to be well-liked. As that specific team period was ending, Theo Johnson had his arm around Jaxson Dart. They were conversing about something. So it seems like Dart has a good relationship with a lot of the guys in the room, a lot of the guys in the building. There was even a period where he was having a conversation with Carmen Brasillo, and I'm sure they were talking about protections and calls up front, and it was a pretty animated conversation where they were talking with their hands and things like that. So I even like to see, as we're thinking about how is Jaxson Dart going to do at the line of scrimmage, and how is he handling protections and dealing with pressure. Him talking with the offensive line coach is certainly not a bad thing, and I saw that for a period as well. That's the Jaxson Dart report. That is the Jaxson Dart report, and I think I did it in a nice crisp pool around 31 minutes. So I'm going to take some questions from the chat. I appreciate everybody hanging out. I'll be back on Monday for one more practice report. Thoughts on Bo Collins, Wyatt? Appreciate you hanging out. Thoughts on Bo Collins? He's been hurt. He has not been active the last couple days. He's been on the side. It's been kind of funny where yesterday the Giants were practicing on the far field, and Bo Collins was on the near field from where the fans were sitting. And as Giants receivers were running routes doing team drills, Bo Collins was also lining up like he was about to run a route. And I thought that was really funny. But Bo Collins has stood out when he's on the field. He's had a nice connection with Jameis at times, had a nice connection with DeVito for a day or two. So I don't know if Bo Collins is going to make the team. What Bo Collins' path to making the team is really standing out as a wide receiver, and then also if he can contribute on special teams. Because as of now, you have Amir Smith-Marset, who I think is the clear returner. I don't think anybody is unseating him for that job. So that's 5 wide receivers. If the Giants carry 6, then I think it comes down to Bo Collins, number 6, Gunnar Olszewski, and Dalen Cambry. Those are like the 3, or maybe even Montrell Washington as well, who Jaxson Dart did. I think he did have another completion to Montrell Washington again today. Montrell Washington, if he wants the challenge to be I think he could be like a slot guy, also maybe inside outside guy. They like versatility. But Montrell Washington's had a really nice connection with Jaxson Dart, and even he's been challenging for second team reps, and he's been lining up as a kick and punt returner as well. Montrell Washington, number 80. So keep an eye out for him in the preseason. I think he's definitely going to be one of the guys to watch for the Bills preseason game. Who is this team's David Sills? Oh wait, I'll get to Darius Alexander. Who is this team's David Sills? Garrett asks. That's a good question. So David Sills is just a vibes guy, good friends with everybody on the team, who lasts for a long period of time. Who's a vibes guy that's friends with everybody on the team and is lasting here for a long time? Because the roster's kind of complete, right? Like with a lot of Joe Shane's guys. Who's like close? Damn. I mean, Tommy DeVito feels like this year's Tommy DeVito is kind of this year's David Sills, right? Just a vibes guy. He's at all the workouts. Everybody loves him. So I feel like this year's David Sills is Tommy DeVito, but Tommy DeVito is also his own dude, you know? So that's a really good question. I'm gonna think about that a little bit more. But I would say Tommy DeVito is like the closest one. Daniel, what's going on, man? Did the run defense improve in any way? How did Darius Alexander look? I was locked on the Jaxson Dart for a lot of the day, and I did not. Today's the first time I didn't get a chance to watch 1v1s from O-line, D-line, but just the common theme throughout camp. All of the interior defensive linemen outside of Dexter Lawrence are disappointing. All of them. Elijah Chapman could provide a little juice as a pass rusher. He doesn't provide really anything as a run defender. Nacho, nothing as a pass rusher. Roy Robertson Harris, they're paying him a little bit of money. Provides nothing as a pass rusher. And frankly, I don't even think his run tape with with Seattle was that good. Jeremiah Ledbetter, who was with Jacksonville, I think his run defense and his tape is better than Roy Robertson Harris, but they gave Ledbetter a 1-year deal. And I don't even know if it's safe to say that Ledbetter is going to make the team. I would like to think that it is. And Darius Alexander, how did he look? Dude, it's been so inconsistent with Darius Alexander. He's looked slow. All these guys in this rookie class from top to bottom, you talk about them bringing energy. I just talked about Dart bringing intensity. Darius Alexander just very much has not. And it's been a little disappointing where I don't expect any rookie to hit the ground running and just be awesome like Abdul Carter, like Malik Neighbors. You don't expect everybody to do that, but at least like an individuals in the areas and the things that you can control, look energetic, look alive. And he just has not even done that. So that's a little disappointing. So do you see improvement from the O-line last year? If so, how much? Tell you what, Jermaine Illuminor's looking pretty damn good, but we knew that he's pretty damn good. James Hudson has times where he looks really, really bad, and there was like one day where he was good. It's so tough to tell with the interior offensive line. Anytime that Abdul Carter has gone up against them, he's fucking dominated him. Like he ran circles around John Runyon yesterday in 1v1s. Literally ran circles around him. So it's so tough to evaluate this interior offensive line when Dexter Lawrence is not going up against them because everyone else just looks awful. They look really, really bad. So I can't even tell you, outside of the one day where JMS was airmailing snaps over Russell Wilson's head, I can't even fully give you an evaluation on how his camp has been because I don't think it's fair. This is not a good interior defensive line group that they're going up against. And they've been able to run the ball well. The evaluation with the offensive line is kind of the same as last year. They move very well together. They've picked up stunts very well together. They move up to the secondary level very well together in the run game. And so that's the same things from last year when it comes to the O-line. But this D-line group is just really, really concerning. Daniel, again, over under Jaxson Dart 4.5 games this season started. I'm going to go over because I think he'll get after the bye, kind of no matter what. And I think that's my best case scenario is Jaxson Dart starting after the bye for those final 4 games of the year where you have Dallas, Minnesota, Las Vegas, and the Commanders, not in that order, but those are your last 4 games. And I just hope when Jaxson Dart goes in, he's going into a good situation. I don't want him going into a 1-5 situation. Okay, save the day. Why? We're not screwed. We're not screwed. The Giants are going to be good. The Giants are going to be all right. I appreciate everybody hanging out. I will be back on Monday for one more report, man. One more report. Appreciate everybody hanging out again. Appreciate everybody for this training camp. I'll thank everybody again on Monday. But this has been good to get back and doing something that I'm comfortable with. It's been a rough couple of months for a couple different reasons. And it's been nice. It's nice to actually watch Giants football again, break it down, react to it, and I'm pumped that everybody's here with me. So stay tuned for Monday. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your off day. I'll see you then for one more training camp recap before there's joint practices against the Jets. Let's go Giants, baby.